Hey Jules, so in our next tutorial we're going to be doing very basic stitches. So now that we've got all the basic ingredients that we need under the knee, now we can start with the real deal. Okay, so for this tutorial we're going to need a crochet needle. I chose a relatively thick yarn so I can show the stitches nice and big. I chose a number 5mm crochet hook. I've got my scissors and my darning needle. So let's get started. So there are many ways to start up your loop, and I'm going to show you 3 methods. Again, this is all personal preference, so there's no law to say which is right and which is wrong. So the very most basic method would be to hold your yarn like this and create your hoop like that. So there you've got your hook. Very, very, very important. Tension on your hook. Do not pull your yarn to the front and pull it tight like that, because this is going to cause gray hairs, pulled out hairs. This is just going to be so uncomfortable to crochet with. Always move your yarn to the back so it's on the bigger side of the needle, so it's got a little bit of play, and in that way you will know that your tension will be correct. Alright, so that's the first way of creating a hoop. The method that I use is by doing this. So I wrap the yarn around my finger almost twice. I pull this long part of the yarn back like this, and then I basically put the needle through the first hoop, pull the yarn up like this, and then with my fingers pull both of these pieces of yarn downwards, and this would also then create a nice little firm hook. I pull it a little bit tighter so it is around my hook, not too tight, it's on the biggest part of my hook, and then I know my tension will be right. And then the last part, which I don't always get right the first time, but I'm going to try my best, is you basically put your hook in like this. This is like a really fancy method, and then you kind of turn your yarn like this, so it's got a little cross over there, and then you basically pull the yarn from the back, and I promise you, and a lot of other videos you go, look, it looks so much more impressive than mine, but this is basically how you do it. And then you pull it tight, nice and tight like this. What I do like about this method, it kind of gives it like a double type knot, so it's a very secure knot here at the beginning, and maybe one day I'll master it and I can do it quickly and it'll look like the Matrix version of it. But yeah, for now I do it in slow motion so I can also just figure out how to do it. So that's basically the other way. Always try to leave a little bit of a tail at the end, because you want to sew this in at the end. You don't want any parts hanging around, because it can come undone afterwards, and also it doesn't really look neat. And what I've also learned, don't try to burn this with a lighter, because it melts and it just causes a mess. Okay, so now that we've got our hoop sorted, let's start chaining. So chaining basically means that we're going to create a foundation that we need to work on. So the best way to learn to crochet is by doing something straight. If I mean straight, I mean it like in a block form. This would be the best way to practice your tension. So you wanted to make a scarf, and I would say that a scarf would probably be the best first project for you. So by starting with a foundation chain, when I say chain, let's chain 10, this is what we're going to do. Now this first one that we created here on the loop does not count as a stitch. So now we're going to chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So there we've got 10 stitches on our foundation chain. If we count them here, this first part where the knot is, you can pull it nice and tight if you'd like. This is not a stitch, so that would be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. I would recommend that you just chain one extra to make it 11. You'll see why I do that once we are finished with our first row. So now we've got 11. Okay, so what we're basically going to do now is we're going to do a single crochet in every one of these stitches from where we ended over here. So if you are a right hand crochet, then you will start from the right and work yourself to the left. If you are left handed, you would start from the left and work yourself to the right. So to start your first stitch, we cannot start our stitch over here. I don't know if you can see this, but this would undo the very last stitch that you did. So we always count that away and then start in the second one over here. That's the best place to start. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have our tension around the back fingers. These fingers control your tension, like you would control the clutch in your car. These fingers control the tension. So I always hook the yarn around these two fingers, and then these two fingers will be controlling the tension I've got over here. So I basically put my yarn in those two fingers, not pulling on it. Never pull your stitches tight. You really are going to frustrate yourself afterwards. It's really a light motion. Okay, so now with these two fingers holding over here, I'm going to put my needle into this very first hole right over here, like that. I'm going to yarn over, pull through once, yarn over, and pull through 2 hoops. So that is our very first stitch. Again, the stitch we are doing now is a single crochet stitch. Okay, so we're going to repeat that same step into the second one. So the second hoop now, through the hole, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Again, on the third one, through the hole, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to continue that right until we get to this last stitch. So again, through the hole, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So this, if I ever say we're working with a single crochet, this is the type of stitch we are working with. And always make sure that you do it in the same one. A lot of patterns will maybe work in the front stitch or the back stitch, but for the basic one we're doing, we're just working in the stop stitch. Just makes it so much easier. Okay, so we're almost there to the end. When you get here to the last stitch, it might get a bit tight depending on the thickness of wool that you use and the thickness of the needle, but just get yourself through that last bit. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2. So now you've got a nice there. This is round 1. So the reason why I said we're going to start with 11, once you've counted these stitches now, because we jumped that first stitch, this would end up in 10 stitches. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 10 stitches. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we want to work upwards. So because we're working upwards, we kind of need to create an invisible line over here and an invisible line over there, so we keep our work nice and straight. So to do that, we will right here at the end, this is what you call a chain 1. So we will chain 1 right here at the end, like that, and then we are going to turn our work around like that. So now you're basically looking at the back part of your work. Very important, when you look at the top of your stitches, it now looks like a little braid right here at the top, and now we're going to be working between these stitches. So what we're going to do, from again the second one from the side, you're going to put your needle through the hole over here, but if you look at the top, your needle has gone through two parts of yarn, the one part of the braid and the other part of the braid. Very important, it has to go through both those two. Okay, so through those two, and just like our previous round, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. And again in the next stitch, make sure it goes through both those pieces of yarn. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. And again on the next one, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over. And this is a very good way to teach yourself to control your tension. So don't jump away and try to make any fancy things, because you're going to get frustrated because your tension is not quite right. And always tension in crochet is very important. So we're just going to continue like we did in the previous round until we get to the end. And at the end you might struggle to find that last stitch. Just always look at the top, see the two pieces of yarn you want to work through, identify them, and make sure that you get your needle through both of them, right over there. Yarn over, pull through, and yarn over, pull through two. So now you've got your second row of stitches. So once we get to the end of round 2, we now need to work backwards again. Make sure when you count your stitches that you still have 10 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Alright, so again, like we did at the end of round 1, we're going to chain 1, and then we are going to turn our work around. And now we are on the front side of our crochet work again, and exactly like we did in row 2, we're going to be working underneath these double stitches here at the top, which is your first line of stitches you created. So again, skipping this first one into your second one, yarn over, pull through 1, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're just going to continue exactly like we did in the previous round until we get all the way to the end of round 3. So if you would create a scarf, you would basically then make a longer chain. You can chain up, it depends on the size wool that you are using, but if you are using a similar one like this, you can maybe chain 20 or 30 depending on how thick you want your scarf. And you're just going to continue doing the same very pattern right through until you get to the end of your length of the scarf that you want. Again, this is a very good way to practice your tension. Okay, so let's say this is now the end of your scarf, and now you want to end off your work. It's very plain and simple. All you have to do is, just as you would yarn over and chain 1, you're going to chain 1, but you're going to chain another one. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut your yarn off with quite a tail, so you can sew that in afterwards, and then you're going to pull this tail right through and pull this nice and tight. Okay, so that's basically what you want to do. Make a nice tight knot over there. So if you continue in this way that we did now, you will have a pretty neat line going up straight. If this line goes a little bit wonky, it's not a problem. We can always just crochet around it to make it nice and even. But now once you are finished, you will then take your darning needle and what you're basically going to do is you're going to work your yarn through your stitches so you can hide this little tail. But don't just pull it through once, because it will come undone. I know you think that it might not, but it will come undone. And then especially if it goes into the wash or whatever. And then what you're going to do is, again, you're going to work it backwards, maybe into the next row or into the same row. You're just going to work your yarn back, and then as much as you can, and then maybe again into the top row like this, and then maybe again, if you can, into the second row. It's very important to do this, and I know it's a lot of work, but if you want your stuff to stay nice, then you should do this. Okay, this needle is a bit big for what I wanted to do. I just wanted to keep it big, plain and simple, so you could see what I'm doing. Okay, so once you've now sewn in this part of your tail, you can just cut it off neatly over here, and then we are going to do the same with this tail. So what we're going to do is get your yarn through the eye over here, and also if the eye is nice and big, you get the yarn through easily. Okay, so because it's got a little bit of a hoop over here, we're just going to then start sewing it from the bottom. So just underneath our top stitch, we're going to put it through the wool like this, and then you see, then it pulls in nicely like that, and nobody will even notice it. And then again, work our way backwards. Obviously can't go identically the way backwards that you came, because then you would just pull your thread out exactly the way you put it in, and you will just continue sewing your ends in as far and as much as possible, so it doesn't come undone afterwards. So I'm going to do it one more time just to make extra sure that it's nice and tight. You see, I even work here into the third row if I have to. There we go. And don't pull too tight on this, because then you're going to pull your work in, and you don't want to do that. Okay, and then you just neatly cut off the tail over there, and then you've got your little crocheted piece that you did. So if this would be your scarf, then that would be the end of your scarf. So that is the end of this tutorial. In our next tutorial, we will work on a half double crochet stitch in the same type of format. It's just going to be a more open, a more bigger type of stitch.